buildup now in this part of the morning?
We sure are, Bianca. Nice to see you here in the morning. I'll show you what it's looking like outside our window here. And one thing to note, the visibility has decreased as we've moved through the morning. Yes, we have seen the accumulation of this heavy, wet snow, but now it's hard to see very far in front of you, as I hope this picture can illustrate. So not only are you dealing with the slick roads, but also very bad visibility, and this wind picks up the snow, blows it around, and makes things kind of difficult. So as we have been saying all morning long, I feel like a broken record, but it bears repeating. If you can help it, stay home, or at least delay your commute until a little bit later on to give these road crews time to clear away this snow. It's really been falling fast and furious, and that is part of the challenge here. We've been seeing, snowfall rates of 1 up to 2 inches an hour, and that makes it very difficult because just as soon as these road crews do one pass, they have to do another, and comes right back almost as soon as it's cleared away. Let's talk a little bit about the situation in New Jersey. The state office buildings just opened. They just were supposed to open right around 10 a.m. They had a delayed opening today, again, to give crews a chance to clear off the roads so that people can get where they need to be safer. Of course, we know a lot of schools are canceled, but the governor is saying if you do have to be out, give the sanitation workers enough time to do their thing so that it's safer to get where you need to go. There are about 2,500 or so pieces of equipment either already out or at the ready across the state of New Jersey. I was just in the township of Mahwah. It's a township of about 28,000 people in Upper Bergen County, right near the New York state line. I had a chance to speak to the mayor there, and he told me that if at all possible, stay home and enjoy this snow, but do be careful with it.
Just stay home and enjoy the snow, and when it's all done, come out and have fun. What is a heavy, wet snow, so it's going to be treacherous to shovel. If you don't have to shovel, if you're older, try to find someone, more in shape, younger, to do your driveway or your sidewalk.
And yes, I'll echo what the mayor said. It is not fluffy, light snow. It is heavy, wet snow. This is the type of snow that causes heart attacks. So if you are at all compromised, don't try to get out there and be a hero and shovel it yourself. Get some help, or if you have to do it on your own, do it very slowly, because this is dangerous. And I think people are heeding the warnings because it looks like a ghost town. Normally we would be seeing a lot of traffic at this hour of the day, but not so far today. I think that's a testament to the post-pandemic world in which we live. People can just fire up those remote workstations, work from home, or at least delay their commute into the office. So that is the story from up here in the lower Hudson Valley / Bergen County. This is kind of the bullseye of the storm. We expected that it would be heaviest up here, and indeed it has been. Bianca, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, it absolutely looks like a whiteout there, Robert. Stay safe on the roadways. He did mention that we're seeing less people on the roadways, Audrey, which I can attest for. You normally take the bus here, and I'm seeing a lot less people on there, so people are staying home. But Audrey, give us an update on what's happening right now and what we can expect maybe a little bit later in the day.
All right, definitely a wise decision to stay indoors, Bianca. It is sloppy out there, as you just saw from Robert Moses' live shot there. The winter storm warning that the National Weather Service has issued is continuing across much of the region here. And the areas shaded in pink, this is where we're seeing the most problematic weather areas. This is where we're seeing the snow piling up. It's very slick on the roadways, and here on the radar, it's depicting such that. Where we see the darker shaded tones, that's where the snowfall has been coming down at most steady and heaviest, and that's also where we're seeing a lot of numbers beginning to pile up here. I'm going to zoom in on a few locations, and we can see it is all snow across Long Island, and when we see the darker shaded tones, that's where it's really coming down. This appears to be the most intense part of the area at the moment. We have steady rainfall from Kings Park all the way out towards Montauk Point, and the same case happens across the Sound here into Fairfield County, into Connecticut. Here we are in the Hudson Valley, where they already have seen over 6 inches, in fact some spots over 10 inches of snowfall since early this morning. morning. The darker shaded tones, though, are shifting off to the east here, so it's mainly east of the Hudson River where we're seeing the most intense snowfall rates happening at the moment. Off to the west of the river, though, still snowing, though, for you in Middletown over towards Orange County. I know Port Jervis came in, I think, about 10 or 11 inches so far, and we're continuing to add to that total. We're zooming on down towards northern New Jersey. We're north of I-80s where we're seeing some of those darker shaded tones here. The snow really coming down in places around Bergen County, heading over towards Passaic County. Same thing, another slot happening just south of 78 here near Reddington and Montgomery. Also seeing some intense snowfall, and even down towards portions of like Ocean County or Monmouth County too, over towards Middletown, even into Atlantic Highlands. It's rough there as well. If you don't need to go out, folks, you really shouldn't. Later this afternoon, we'll actually see some more improvement, and that will be the time to get out to where you need to be. It's not going to be an all-day event. We can see the winding down happening here across central New York as well as central Pennsylvania, and that leading edge will be moving from west to east as we go progressing through time here. A lot of rainfall also associated with this system, but it's well offshore here. We did get some rainfall earlier across the southern half of the Jersey Shore, but now you're seeing a change over to snow in places like Long Beach Island all the way down towards Atlantic City too. So here's a look at some of the snow totals that we've already gotten here into the Weather Center. 11 inches in Port Jervis, as I just mentioned a little bit earlier. Highland Mills came in at 9.5 so far. Putnam Valley about 6 inches here. Central Park, this was an earlier reading. This was, I think, at about 7:30 this morning, so we definitely added to that. I would probably add another inch at least, maybe even 2 inches at this point. We'll get an update shortly from there. Sparta, New Jersey came in at 7 inches so far. Paramus recording about 6 inches. Ramsey at 5. Montclair coming in at 4 inches. Franklin Lakes at about 3. Newark, same thing as New York City here. I think this was an earlier reading, so we'll probably be adding to that. All of these totals will be added to as we go further on over the next hour or so. All right, so let's talk about temperatures here. We had a rush of cold air coming in on the backside of the system, and as a result, we definitely saw more snowfall across more areas than was earlier anticipated earlier in the week or over the weekend here. So we had warmer temperatures over the weekend, and so we were sort of waiting to see how the models were going to handle it. And once that cold air began to rush in, we saw that snow coming down in earnest across the region since overnight. So right now we're at the freezing mark in White Plains, and so we're reporting snow there. 31 right now in Poughkeepsie, 33 in Bridgeport. Everyone at or near the freezing mark at the moment, and it looks like with all the power that's in the system, that also aids. So even though the temperature may be at just above the freezing mark, when we see 33, 34 degrees, going back for just a second here, when you have a dynamic system, you can still have a very cold rush of air at the temperature reading at 34 to still sustain snow. Now, anything higher than that, it would probably be unlikely, but this is something that we talk about in meteorology a lot because people will get confused thinking, well, it's not the freezing mark, so how is it still snowing? Well, it can still snow at 33, 34 degrees because of the dynamic of the system. And also, when you have a cold surface, a really cold surface at the ground level here, when you've had freezing temperatures over the last several days, that's when the snow will really stick. But that hasn't been the case for us because we've been well above freezing for the last several days. So the snow has been melting on contact, especially here in the city. Let's talk a little bit about the winds right now. They're sustained between 10 and 20 miles per hour on average. There's gusts even higher than that, but the winds are contributing to the visibility, at least the reduction in visibility across the region. So not a good time to be driving because we have our visibilities reduced to about a mile or less across much of the region here. And this is also in the same swath that we're seeing a steady snowfall here with snowfall rates coming down at about an inch an hour at times. Coastal flooding will also be an issue with this system here, especially during the morning and afternoon high tide cycles. If you've already seen that with the earlier tide cycles, some minor flooding has been experienced across some of our coastal sections. And we'll have the potential for widespread minor flooding, and there could be some spots with moderate flooding, and that's because of a strong northeasterly wind flow that's pushing the water right along the coastline here, and especially across the Sound. That's where we could see on the north shore of Long Island a good bit of some minor flooding here. Same thing across the Jersey Shore. Again, an easterly fetch is helping to push that water in, so at the times of high tide, it's going to be exacerbated by that wind flow here. So look at the wider scope here. We can see the snow is extended not only just for our area, but all the way up into New England, where they'll get a good dose here in places like Providence and over towards Boston. But again, the leading edge, or the ending, like you could say here, on the west side of the system is coming through here across central Pennsylvania, also western portions of New York, where they're already breaking into sunshine in places like Pittsburgh and over towards Erie, Pennsylvania. All across the nation here, things are much quieter. It's really just right here in the Northeast where we're the bullseye for the major system that's working across the region. All right, let's go into our future cast, and we can see here we are at 12 o'clock. Things winding down down significantly, especially west of the city here across northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley. Still snowing across Long Island. A little bit of warm air is going to move into the system, so we're going to see a change over to rain roughly around lunchtime in and around Nassau County, possibly the Brooklyn, Queens area, also down towards the Jersey Shore, especially south of Belmar. All right, here we are. Just 1 hour later, this is quickly exiting the region from west to east, and we'll see it'll be change over to rain across Suffolk County. It'll still be steady rainfall across the East Hampton and out towards Montauk Point area, but everyone else drying out. In fact, we're going to see some sun breaking through before the day's end, believe it or not. Here we are at 5 o'clock, right around sunset, and you can see we'll have breaks in the clouds, and we might actually see a really nice sunset across the region after this morning's mess that we're experiencing right now. As we go into tomorrow, things will fare much better. A cold rush of air will be coming in behind the system, so it's going to be dramatically colder tomorrow, with temperatures only reaching into about the low 30s, mid 30s possibly for Valentine's Day, and factor in a wind too, and it will feel blustery out there. So 35 will be tomorrow's high temperature, and then we have another chance of some snow and rain with a quick moving clipper system that'll come through on Thursday, but it won't come in as strong as the one we're experiencing, or the system we're experiencing right now. All right, let's head over to Bianca and see what else we have going on.
All right, Audrey, thanks so much. She talked about that slush happening here in New York City. You're definitely going to be experiencing it here in the Big Apple. Speaking about students at New York City public schools, they are learning remotely today as the whole city braces for this major storm after such a long drought. Fox 5's Braille Thomasetti joins us live from the Upper East Side. Braille, how's it looking right now in the city?
Yeah, Bianca, well, with remote learning, it sure seems like we're backtracking into the COVID era, but snow-wise, right now, it's kind of like a winter wonderland. It's on the lighter side. I think this is sort of tapering off from what we saw earlier. Between 7 and 8 o'clock, things were really heavy, really slushy, really snowy, but the city urged people to stay off the roads. The case right now, the traffic is light. People are still driving up First Avenue. We're here on the Upper East Side, but they are moving slowly and cautiously. So that is a very good a good sign. The sanitation department is well equipped to plow all of these streets at the same time. We just have to make sure we get enough snow so it is indeed plowable. Officials said that we've got to have at least 2 inches on the ground. I think we have passed that at this point, but we are still waiting, as Audrey mentioned, for those official Central Park and Manhattan snow totals to come in. The MTA, in the meantime, working to ensure a smooth commute for those who opt to take mass transit today. Buses were outfitted with snow chains, and de-icing systems are being used to protect the train tracks. And getting back to that remote learning situation, yes, all public school students here in the city are learning from home. Mayor Adams was on Good Day New York earlier this morning with an update on what that looks like.
Well, it is so important, and many people forgot that after COVID, we had some severe learning loss, particularly in math, and we have to keep pace. We are only allowed, we must have, I should say, 180 school days a year by law, and because of this tool of remote learning, we're allowed to have a remote instructional day, and at the same time, keep the pace of the success we've been experiencing.
Yeah, we are also tracking a developing situation in regard to remote learning. I want to read a tweet that was put out by the city saying that we are currently experiencing issues with services that require IBM authentication to log in. We are actively working with IBM to resolve, and we'll provide an update as soon as possible. Now, school districts have even sent out letters, emails to families warning them to take note of what's happening and to remain as patient as possible, but obviously not the situation you want to have with about 1 million kids in this public school system. They go try to log on and it is not working properly. Bianca, we'll send it back to you.
At this point, just call it a full snow day. I mean, come on. Briella, thanks so much. And for the latest updates on school closings, delays, and early dismissals in our area, you can head over to our website on your screen. That is fox5ny.com. That is the latest on the winter storm right here in the tri-state. And we're going to be back in just a little bit with another update on Fox 5 at 11 a.m. And you can also keep watching our extended weather coverage on our free streaming app, Fox Local, throughout the day. Just search Fox Local on your preferred streaming platforms. Audrey's going to be joining us, giving you all the updates and what you need to know regarding this winter storm. As for now, stay safe on the roadways, and if you can, stay home. There he goes.
They're coming through left and right. Yep.
And it's one of these storms that you'll have to sort of remove in spurts so that you can keep up with the storm. Impressive to see that they're closing in on 7 inches of snow there in Hartford. Fox Weather's Kendall Smith, thanks so much for the update. This really is a storm all about location. We know that we had a little slide south of the energy, which took Boston out of the heart of it and put Hartford back in the sweet spot.
Hard to forecast. The Boston office, they're in charge of Hartford. They dropped the winter storm warning for Hartford down to a winter weather advisory this morning. Forecast total is about 3 to 5 inches. If where Kendall's measuring, and it looks right, I mean, nothing better than open, wind's not too crazy. You measure that 7 inches, it's already outperforming what was initially thought. That's why these storms are so dynamic and difficult to forecast. In Connecticut, our highest totals confirming. In West Hartford, we've got 11 inches already. East Windsor, I mean, 10 inches. And so we're looking at now coastal Connecticut that we have. Winter storm warnings remain in effect. See, it follows that sort of southward trend that we were following. But how unique that Philadelphia is getting snow, but yet we're still seeing some of these more intense snow bands, and this speaks directly to what we're dealing with. As these fronts strengthen and we get that rising motion, a decent band right over Hartford producing so much snow and big flakes, too. There's so much moisture. When I looked at Kendall's live shot, I mean, those are, we call them in St. Louis, hamster-sized flakes. I mean, they're big ones, and we're not getting anything in New York City. So congrats, Kendall. You moved to the right spot. We've got a bit of a dry slot. We're still waiting on New York City to get some.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. You do have some heavier bands back to the west still to come before we get to the backside of the storm. When we talk nor'easter, everybody thinks snow, snow, snow. It is one of the hallmarks of a storm like this, but nor'easter actually gets its definition not from the region that it hits, but because of the winds, the northeast winds, and that's what makes it one of the things that makes it a complicated storm, but it also brings the pounding winds up against the shoreline. So you've got problems, and we've already seen some at the Jersey Shore today with coastal flooding. The high tides early this morning, problematic. We'll see that again tonight, and even a high tide tomorrow that you'll want to pay attention to because the storm intensifies. The low pressure deepens here, even as it pulls away off to the north and east, and that will continue to allow for big winds and some higher than normal tides. Yeah,
and with those winds, fortunately, as that low pulls away, that's going to be an offshore wind, so that's going to help things a bit. I think as we have neared that
tomorrow, what, around 6?
High tide cycle.
To tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and what we're watching with this departing system still are winds on the north side of that low. That's still a bit of an onshore wind, and we've got the Cape here under those high wind warnings. I think that there could be a bit of coastal flood concerns too along the Cape. The winds are going to be, and this is just an area that's more prone, but also used to these types of storms. Provincetown, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. Barnstable, about 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. That's as we head into the evening tonight. This thing's moving fast, but as quickly as we have the winds coming out of the northeast, Amy, they are going to shift and come out of the northwest. Until then, though, that onshore push of the winds, yes, going to create those flooding concerns. Yeah, it looks like they'll keep that coastal flood warning in effect for the Jersey Shore till 3 a.m. Then they'll let it drop as that becomes dominant for tomorrow morning's high tide. But until then, we do have some moderate levels. Even through the high tides this evening, we'll have moderate levels. Places like Monmouth County, Arthur Kill, that's at Perth Amboy. Sandy Hook is also going to have a moderate stage. So these are some places that you'll want to watch. Manasquan, one of the areas that we had problems today, are going to also have a moderate issue at their high tide. So one more cycle at least, and then by tomorrow morning, that should ease back as those winds switch out and you get an outward flow. But that's just another portion of this storm. A lot of people top of mind are wondering how much snow I'm going to get. Whatever you do get, hopefully will be easy for you to clean it up. And if you do so, that pays off because tonight we get incredibly cold conditions, sub-freezing in a lot of places, and that would mean that you get a refreeze overnight. Yeah, we'll watch those temperatures going to drop. But if we just go back to future track and follow this storm and what it's going to ultimately do, the coastal flood threats and the coastal alerts, they are there. But this is moving fast, and we're going to see a quick end to it. Watching as that snow by about 1 o'clock this afternoon already beginning to exit. This is in Manasquan, New Jersey. We've got a little bit of that flooding that is occurring. In addition to it, you've got snow that's coming down at the same time. So here's an indication of those coastal flood threats that we've had and that we still could have throughout the evening, the next high tide cycle later this evening. But the snow falling there too is an indication of the cold air which has arrived. That's a sign of a nor'easter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about the quick ending, right now is going to be the thick of some of those snowfall rates for areas. I mean, you see it snowing at the shore, likely not going to see, what half-inch of accumulation at best on some cold surfaces as it rolls through there. But you've got really until about 1 o'clock to get the snow on the ground. So you don't have a lot of time here left in the tri-state to get that snow that's coming. But what could come is that quick burst that puts it down, a small but fierce accumulation. So fast-moving but hard-hitting.
Yeah, that's it. By 4 p.m., we'll get that northwest wind, but we have an opportunity still to warm. Not a ton of cold air associated with this storm. In New York, as we watch the moisture move on out of here, we'll probably see some of the sun peek through the clouds. And so how much will that do to the snow and the melting? Well, that's left to be seen. But the snow ending probably before 3 p.m., before that rush hour. And then as we head into the evening, probably one of the coldest nights that we'll have of the week will come Wednesday night. But that cold air around to where throughout the day on Wednesday, we'll have temperatures remaining in the 30s. Another shot at rain on Thursday. This has been the best shot that we've had of snow with this one system. And depending on how it behaves, I don't know, we'll have to see how the totals play out. We're still getting snow in New York City. It's just not the accumulating stuff like we've seen in Hartford.
Cancellations began for this storm yesterday, the anticipation of it throughout the night and into the early morning hours. Airlines began canceling. And so we're up to 1,400 flights that were canceled across the country, most of those primarily in the Northeast because of this storm. About 8,000 delays from FlightAware.com as it stands right now. More could come through the middle part of the day. We've also had some problems with the pass trains in New York City. So just look around wherever you want to get. If you do have to go out and about, look for those cancellations. Look for reduced service and public transportation, all in anticipation of this storm and how we're dealing with it.
Yeah, and governors in both, I know, Rhode Island and Connecticut, they implemented tractor-trailer bans. In New Jersey, that commercial ban went into effect at midnight. Pennsylvania, vehicle restrictions, the Department of Transportation there. Amy, even today in New York City, we've got the Long Island special election, that void seat now from expelled Congressman George Santos.
Right.
That election's going on. All 46 polling stations remaining open, though, until 9 p.m. So folks getting out there still able to vote. The decision was made to have that still take place. Early voting was back on Saturday, closed on Sunday. But this has been a storm that we've been advertising for quite some time. How ironic that our first winter storm warning in 2 years has come on that special election, right?
Yeah, that's going to cause problems. Then you've also got the latest here coming in. Power outage is actually what caused the PATH train issues. So that is between the World Trade Center, and as you're trying to get in and out of the city, you got to pay attention to that. PATH, of course, is what takes us over into Hoboken, New Jersey. Yep. So that train has power issues, so that's why they reduced service. But there have been power issues for the general public with more than 170,000 customers without power, mainly in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and also West Virginia. So as we've tracked those, you can see the numbers here. Ultimately, we're back up to 141, so it looks like that number's dropped off a little bit. At least in Pennsylvania, we're at 141. If you add in the 10,000 for Pennsylvania and the 10 or 12,000 for West Virginia, that puts us above the 150,000 customer mark. We'll continue to watch these as we go throughout the day. The forecast calling for a rapid, what would you call it, a rapid clearing, a rapid turnaround for the afternoon and into this evening. But we'll be dealing with the residual impacts, I'm sure, as we move throughout this day. Millions of people trying to get in and out of places during a quick-hitting snowstorm in the Northeast, bound to cause problems. So whether it's by railroad or sky, travelers confronted with this major storm, Fox Weather is keeping you ahead of it. We are your Winter Storm HQ. Stick with us as we guide you through the storm. Weather Command is coming right back. Welcome back to Weather Command. For the first time in years, an old-fashioned snowstorm is cranking out a quick but intense nor'easter, and the storm is hitting its stride right now. 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates across the tri-state. First time in 2 years this has happened, and New York City streets and sanitation are dropping plows in parts of the city where snow depths have officially hit 2 inches. Doylestown, Pennsylvania, in the textbook definition of a snow globe, they had up to 2 inch per hour snow rates. Rapid snow accumulation is expected across southeast Pennsylvania. We've seen some pretty impressive totals already. Delay travel if you can. This is too tricky for that part of the storm. Major delays have come from the highways and byways across Pennsylvania. Multiple vehicles were actually stuck on I-83 in York, and that was very difficult because the snowplows couldn't get in and treat where the cars were stuck. You've got a major shift in the storm's track, so that's why Philadelphia to Harrisburg got a bit of a surprise today, while Boston, Beantown getting much less than expected. New England sort of left out of the mix as the storm slid further south. Still in it is New York City, just not looking for as deep as totals. Now let's bring in Fox Weather winter storm specialist Tom Nizzle into this winter storm discussion. Stephen and I have been looking at, what's happened over in New York, a bit of a dry slot. Fingers crossed we get these heavier bands that are off to the west, but this is a fast-paced storm.
Oh, yeah, Amy. In fact, it's moving so fast, it's tough for our graphics Mets to keep up with the position of the low and the central pressure. It's going off the coast now. It has dropped to a 985 millibar low, and it's actually going to go to sub 960 millibars by the time it gets up to the Canadian Maritime. So it is packing a punch, but it's moving very rapidly. You can see the western edge of that snow area is just continuing to move eastward very quickly here. And in York, PA, where they had those issues earlier today, they've cleared off. The skies have opened up there. The snow has stopped. And we're going to continue to see that again as the system moves rapidly to the east. Temperatures hovering right around the freezing mark here. This is classic with this type of heavy snow setup that we're seeing. And as you go up into southeastern New England, in and around the Boston area, the temperatures are starting to drop a little bit more. Boston's gone over to a rain-snow mix. But south of there, from Rhode Island into the southeastern corner of Massachusetts, I think that's the area where we're going to see the heavy snow as we go through the next several hours. I would not be surprised if we see another 5 to 7 inches of snow there before this system moves out. Visibility is down to a quarter mile in a lot of areas now with this small-scale banding of the snow that is occurring. And it is because it is such a powerful system.
Tom, I don't think there's a better illustration of the banding than what we have going on in Connecticut right now. It's in this hatched area where we've got the converging winds. Our Kendall Smith is there in Hartford. If you saw her shot, these flakes are huge, and she's already measured 7 inches. The National Weather Service out of Boston, Hartford's in their jurisdiction, they decided to drop this winter storm warning for Hartford down to a winter weather advisory. I mean, I know we're getting into semantics here, but these small-scale features, I think, is the point. You get a band to set up over a place like Hartford. While we noticed a trend the past 24 hours, Hartford is still getting nailed this morning with some heavy snow.
They're at 32 degrees, so definitely dynamic cooling going on there. They've dropped their temperature.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what is happening there. But here's what's interesting. You look at the southern end of the storm here, and you see how the snowfall area, that clearing line, is moving rapidly eastward. But up on the northern end, the storm is actually pivoting. And that pivot that is occurring there is keeping snow over Hartford, as an example, for a longer period of time. You combine that with a mesoscale or small-scale banding, and this is where we're seeing a lot of snow pile up very quickly. It's one of those sweet spots and one of those flies in the ointment with these nor'easters that are very difficult to predict. I feel bad for the forecasters there in Boston because in a way you're darned if you do, darned if you don't with these types of very dynamic winter systems.
And this is tricky, too, because a lot of people wake up and they see there's not snow on the ground, or they saw that it got a slow start, so they head out into it. But this is the reason that you don't want to be caught out in these scenarios and situations, is because you do start to get the intensity of the snow, whether it's short-lived or not. These are the things that will complicate travel, reduce reduce visibility and can really turn dangerous quickly. We saw the situation that happened in York, PA early this morning. I believe that was on 80. That was where there was probably an accident. A lot of people got piled up on the highway there, and they could not get in and clear it with plows. And so then it became very, very messy and dangerous. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to let down your guard. You have an intense opportunity here over maybe a questionable area. You don't know exactly where it's going to happen, but you don't want to get caught out in a system like this. Maybe the best messaging is how quick this ends, Tom.
Well, I'll tell you what adds salt to the wound here, Amy, as you were talking about in that York, PA situation, is timing can be everything, can't it? And when it occurs right before and into that morning rush hour, all that traffic on the roadways, all it takes is one or two cars to spin out on this very greasy snow, and that will cause these massive travel backups. And that's what we saw there. As we go in through the afternoon, again, the system is going to move rapidly eastward here. New York City, the early afternoon, you should be done with the snow there. You may get that extra inch in Central Park before it is all over. But again, the area I'm really concerned about is even into late afternoon through Rhode Island and into portions of southeastern Mass in and around the Cape.
When we're looking at this storm, I mean, we've been talking about that back shield. It is rapidly ending. Harrisburg, though, now reporting 36 degrees, a mostly to partly cloudy sky. We've got breaks of sun there in Harrisburg, which is remarkable. What is causing just such the sudden end to this moisture? I know it's a common feature of nor'easters, but to explain that, to understand it, would be good.
Well, there's a couple of factors that come into play here. The system coming out of the north has a lot of dry air with it, and that is helping to cause that rapid, you can see that very solid cutoff there from the snow to where there is no snow. But also the banding that occurs within these storms, the rapid rising motion on a small scale to the north and west of these storms has to be countered by descending motion on the outside of that banding. And that's what produces this very rapid cutoff in that snow line and clearing line out to the north and west of this massive low.
Wow. What a storm. This has quite been the interesting one to forecast and to watch evolve. We appreciate your time. Fox Weather's winter storm specialist, Tom Nizzle, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to bring in Fox Weather correspondent Robert Ray. He's in Central Park. Gotham under its first winter storm warning in 2 years. We also just heard the plows have been out and about in parts of the boroughs. So we have an official snowstorm on our hands, Robert.
We do, and it is magical here in Central Park, though if you're out on those roadways, yeah, seriously, not good. I mean, we just a couple hours ago traversed from Midtown Times Square over to here, and even it felt hairy just going through those city blocks. But they're doing their best. They're putting the rock salt down. They're starting to plow everything now that there's 2+ inches of snow, and we certainly have that here in Central Park as it continues to fall. This is, you know, Amy, very heavy, wet snow. It doesn't take anything, and all of a sudden you have like a hard softball, 16-inch Chicago-style softball here, and you look up, look at that just gorgeous scene of Central Park and all of the buildings overlooking the beautiful trees and the heavy snow that is landing on these trees. Power outages are occurring in parts of the Northeast, though not significant, at least here in the New York area. 19,000 lane miles is what the city is up against as far as plowing. And if you're a tourist, you see all the people here walking through, maybe even they're locals. They're out and about checking it out. We talk, well, we've been talking to many people throughout the morning, but check out my conversation with two folks that barely made it in over from Europe this morning. They landed just before the snow began. Listen. Where are you guys from?
France, Belgium.
France and Belgium.
Yes.
Welcome to New York City and welcome to Fox Weather. How long? When did you guys get here in the States?
2 hours ago.
Yes. 2 hours ago?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever seen anything like this with the snow and all the lights?
No, that's really beautiful. That's annoying, but beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, annoying, right? If you're trying to commute, but beautiful if you're out here, like this family, a woman and a child with a little sled trying to do their thing here in Central Park as the snow plows are making their way through. Another one, I don't know if you can see that in the distance, Amy, trying to come down because the concern is that as the snow continues to fall and packs down on these roadways and sidewalks tonight, as the temperatures drop, flash freeze potentially in play, and even a flash flood situation on the coast here, as maybe you hear that plow in the back. Amy?
Yeah, I can hear it scraping, trying to get that snow out of the way. People are going to have to remove this in sort of shifts if they are in the outlying areas, maybe not as little as Central Park. They have heavier amounts, and it's a heavy type of snow. No question you're going to be able to make some good snowmen out of that type of snow.
Yeah, big time. Or maybe capture the flag in the snow, which is what I used to do growing up in Connecticut and in Chicago. That's what we do, and we try to nail each other. Boom. But actually, this is dangerous. This stuff is really hard and very heavy snow. But yeah, great for snowmen. Maybe not so much for snowballs, because you might injure somebody.
All right, we'll watch as this goes through the area. Hard to believe that we'll just have a couple more hours of it and skies will clear. We'll stay in touch. Fox Weather's Robert Ray from Central Park. Wow, this is quite a storm. A hard-hitting, fast-paced nor'easter blasting the region with heavy snow. It's an intense storm that drops a quick amount of snow, very short amount of time, as we say. But as it does, it creates dangerous travel. We've also had power outages, more than 170,000 customers without power right now. Travel advisory in effect for New York City as the snow blankets the Big Apple. Long Island could have the heaviest totals. If you can delay your travel, please do so. Stay safe during the storm. Weather Command is coming right back. We're back here on Weather Command. I'm Amy Freeze.
And I'm Stephen Morgan.
We got an update here, Stephen. It looks like we've trimmed back the winter storm alerts. About 40 million people dropping off western West Virginia.
Okay.
Sorry, West
Got
Virginia
it.
itself. So there we go. So that's a little bit of a sign that things will be wrapping this afternoon as we expected. But right now we're in the heart of it, this powerful nor'easter pounding the eastern seaboard with heavy snow and strong wind. The intense rain rates going as high as 2 inches per hour. So this is a hard-hitting but quick-moving storm. It allows for fast accumulation when you get a snow band coming through. Parts of southern New England, Long Island will be getting it. As much as 11 inches has already been measured in West Hartford and 5 inches for East Providence, Rhode Island. Now, exclusive Fox Weather storm tracker Brandon Kopic is on the road in Danbury, Connecticut, following this storm. He joins us by phone right now. Brandon, the road conditions and storms like this can deteriorate very fast.
Yes, the road conditions are very snow-covered and very slick out here today. Thankfully, a lot of people are taking heed in the deteriorating road conditions and either taking it slow or not traveling at all today, thankfully. But on my way here between Newburgh and the Connecticut state line on I-84, I actually saw more commercial vehicles in the ditch or involved in an accident than I actually saw driving on the highway. So today's definitely one of those days that you want to take it extra careful and be safe. That way you can be safe getting to your destination.
As you're looking out there, I don't see too many people out and about on the roadways. You do have some traffic oncoming in the opposite direction, but it looks like you're either taking your time and keeping your space, or there are a whole lot of people that aren't out on the roads.
Yeah, thankfully, traffic overall has been decently light, so that I've been grateful for, and most people are traveling about no more than about 30 to 35 miles an hour for the most part. So that's really helping with people being able to keep control of their vehicles with the way that the road conditions are right now. Given the fact that the snowfall rates are so intense, it's just very difficult for the plows to keep up. They're doing a phenomenal job for the hand they're being dealt with the weather right now. But it's just so incredibly important. Just take it slow, be safe, drive with your headlights and your taillights on. Get yourself and those around you to their destination safely.
Yeah, I see a lot of the vehicles oncoming do have their headlights on. And when the plows do get out there onto the road, you want to give them plenty of distance so they can get the job done. But it's difficult when the snow's coming down this hard, because if it's coming down so intensely, it's like you get a little bit out of the way and all of a sudden it's covered again.
Yeah, it is truly incredible to see these kind of amounts coming down so quick. And this is really a quick hitting system. I mean, I was out here earlier this year for a snowstorm, but it was such a longer duration, so the plows were able to keep up with it. Right now in the lane that I'm in the left lane, there's about, I'd say, at least 3 or 4 inches of snow on the ground in the middle of the tire track. So obviously the right lane is more plowed, but it just goes to show how quickly the snowfall is coming down. And while the road crews are doing their best, they're doing the best they can, but there's going to be times where the road's going to get really snow covered.
Looks like we have 10 inches of snow for the report coming out of Danbury. So the area you're driving through right now, not quite a foot of snow, but plenty of it to go around. And it's still snowing there, as we can see your wipers going. What direction are you headed? What is your destination?
Well, right now I'm headed for Hartford, Connecticut, but we're going to keep making our way eastbound and follow this all the way to the coast and just stick with it until we can't go any further. When that snow band shifts offshore, likely after 5 p.m. Eastern, we're just going to try and keep riding with it east to stay in the most intense snow.
Yeah, it looks like you're probably going to catch some pretty heavy bands as you make your way in that direction. Stay safe out there. We will continue to follow in with coverage. Thank you so much. Winter Storm Tracker here on Fox Weather, Brandon Kopic. Thank you. A location is going to be the name of the game with this storm. He's gotten into a pocket there in Danbury that is just shy of the 1 foot mark, not far from West Hartford, which has the 11 inches. When you look at this, Stephen, the totals that are coming in, there are sweet spots like that where we've had both. They've got the intensity of the low, but they've also had some microclimate set up that gives them a little extra punch.
These bands, these isolated bands that we've seen, and the totals that are coming out of Pennsylvania, even more startling because we're approaching 1.5 feet, believe it or not. The snow has ended now through the Poconos. That rapid I guess, improvement that we're seeing now through parts of Pennsylvania. That includes the Poconos. But I mean, look at some of these totals. Sparta, New Jersey, picking up 12.5 inches of snow. And then in parts of the lower Hudson Valley, we've got some impressive snow totals. Mount Poconos at 12.5 inches. So to see these 14, 15-inch snow readings, these are remarkable. And we saw that overall trend to the south. So Pennsylvania suddenly became at play with this. We knew elevations, higher elevations would get in on it, and oftentimes the Poconos do. We have the Berkshires in western Massachusetts, parts of Connecticut dealing with a little bit of elevation there, but it's still quite impressive. And now that we have daylight, we can look at visible satellite. What an impressive look that we have of this storm that is rapidly moving off to the east. And you can almost make out that rotation, that area of low pressure as it's sitting right now just off the coast of the Jersey Shore. And it is rapidly deepening still and strengthening. As it does that, we might see the winds increase, but we're also seeing just that sharp cutoff in the snow and clearing behind the snow. It's not like it's going to remain cloudy by any means.
Now, one thing that you'll notice here is that if you are basically in the tri-state area of New York City, you really only have a couple more hours of snow, the potential to see any accumulation. And that's really happening through northwest and central New Jersey. The Hudson Valley, you're going to start to see it cut off here. The Ramapo Valley, that's going to be into the storm. You're going to see to the west and in the distance the clearing of the skies. Parts of Long Island, you'll be in it longer. Then we'll have the southern New England batch of snow that continues on. But what's interesting, I think, here is that when you look at how much moisture we had early on in the storm, the colder surface temperatures, or lack of cold is what we should say here, lack of cold at the surface really didn't allow for some of that early snow because it started snowing around 4 or 5 a.m. But it did not stick at the surface because it was not coming down hard enough and we hadn't got the cold air in place. The higher elevations, which you showed, places like Sparta or Mount Pocono, those are elevations. They have slightly colder temperatures. They could profit from the early moisture that came down. So in this storm, there were two ways to get the cold air or the snow at the ground. Is the cold air at the surface or the dynamic cooling to bring that heavy snow down, or it comes down so heavy and hard you can't stop it.
The storm itself was supposed to start off as rain. I think the big question was how quickly were we going to get this transition to occur? And honestly, if you ask me, it happened quicker than expected in New York City this morning. I thought 7, 8 o'clock was when that transition would begin to occur, but we did have those big fat flakes flying. I think we need to do a paper on this dry slot in New York City, Amy. Need to look at what we have going on, these mesoscale features that we're watching. Yeah, to go back to, I mean, we're seeing plenty of snow in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut right now, but yeah, it's this band right here that has just, and it is that sinking air. We had a pretty decent band that was setting up just to the east of Manhattan, but over Central Park, south along I-95 into Edison, that has been a stubborn area. We're seeing it now shift a little farther to the south and to the east. Here is the back edge. Already in North Jersey, we have clearing. We have the snow tapering off. Sparta, it's going to come to a close. Keep in mind, we were just looking at one of the snow totals out of Sparta, more than a foot of snow. So they've had their fill. But when you get these little narrow dry slots, that really erodes and eats away at your totals. Keep in mind the efficient snowmaking, at least rates that we were going to see, 1 to 3 inches per hour, occurring as we speak, but then you get these mesoscale features, and that could rob even the largest city in the Northeast in the country, New York. Sometimes you're just unlucky. How much Central Park sees? We'll see. I mean, we got some snow out of it.
They'll be over 2 inches.
Yeah,
they'll be over
I think so. Robert Ray showing that snow. There's no doubt about it.
All right, Fox Weather is your Winter Storm HQ. We're on top of this one. More than 40 million people under winter weather alerts from Maryland to Massachusetts as this powerful storm makes its way up the East Coast. The storm expected to be short-lived but intense. New York City in store for perhaps the biggest snowfall in 2 years. I don't know if it's brag-worthy, but we are bragging about it. I mean, if we get more than 2 inches, it's more than we've seen in a bit. So you take what you can. Team coverage with our meteorologists, reporters, and storm trackers continue. We are basically fanned out across the Northeast, keeping you ahead of the storm. Thanks for being part of what we do here, weathering it together. Stay with us at Fox Weather as we continue coverage of this February nor'easter. Weather Command is coming right back.
chat with an expert.
Hello, everyone. Welcome inside Weather Command. I'm Amy Freeze. 44 million Americans are under winter weather alerts from Virginia to Massachusetts. Looks like we're going to drop off parts of West Virginia as we move through this storm. It is the first major snowstorm in more than 2 years to blast major cities across the Northeast, including New York City. It's a fast-moving storm. It's a hard-hitting storm. Thanks for joining us. We're calling it a snow day on the desk today. Stephen Morgan is here.
We can finally say it for Boston, right? We've been watching that rain-snow line in Boston. And
retailers get thunderstruck. From Fox 5 News, this is a weather alert.
Good morning, I'm Chris Welch. We've got a morning update for you as the tri-state is slammed with a winter storm. We want to go ahead and take you straight outside. This is a live look at Passaic, New Jersey. We've also got our own meteorologist, Audrey Puente, standing by. She is tracking this storm, and she's here now with the very latest. Audrey, where does this thing stand right now?
Well, we still have snow being found across the tri-state area right now, Chris, and we still have a winter storm warning in effect for much of the region here. This will continue right into the afternoon. The snow is still coming down in many spots, including Long Island, Connecticut, New York City, and most of New Jersey. But we're starting to see the clearing edge working into the western part of the screen here, and that is slowly, or actually quickly, moving off to the east. And we'll see gradual improvement as we go into the next hour or so. Across Long Island, though, it's coming down pretty good here. Where you see the darker shaded tones, this is what we call banding. This is where the snow is really beginning to pile up at the moment, and you're seeing the worst of it out of the entire tri-state area. Over towards Connecticut, things are getting a little bit better as far as the intensity of snowfall in Fairfield County. Same thing in the Hudson Valley, especially west of the Hudson River. In fact, we're already seeing the clearing line racing into portions of Sullivan and Orange County here, and now creeping its way into northwestern portions of Sussex County in New Jersey. But the darker shaded tones here right along the Garden State Parkway and into towards the Turnpike. This is where we're going to see some steady to moderate snowfall over the next hour. This is quickly moving to the east, so that's some good news here. The rain that is associated with the system, unfortunately, has been sitting offshore. It's been mainly a snow event over the last several hours across the region, and as a result, we've seen some impressive snow totals. Close to a foot in Port Jervis right now, where it has finally stopped snowing for you. Highland Mills coming in at 9.5 inches. Middletown coming in at 8 inches. Central Park 1.2 so far. However, this was recorded at about 7 a.m. It's probably another inch since then. Sparta coming in at 7 inches in New Jersey. Paramus at 6 inches. Newark at about 1.5 inches again. That was way earlier this morning, so they probably added to that. We haven't gotten the update just yet here. A look at the futurecast shows that leading edge coming through here. Here we are at 1 o'clock. That's just not too far from now. We'll see a change over to rain before everything quickly exits the shore point. And by sunset tonight, we'll already see some breaks in the clouds. It'll actually make for a really nice sunset as we go into the evening. And then things will gradually improve overnight. Tomorrow we'll see more in the way of sunshine, a much drier day across the region, and it will be cold and winter-like for the region. So for today, we're expecting things to clear out by the afternoon. We'll see some sun breaking through before the day's end. Temperatures will stay in the 30s. Let's see how it looks on the roads right now. It's pretty sloppy, and Inez is here with the traffic update.
Yeah, Audrey, it is sloppy. You said it. Roads, rails, you know. Good thing is a lot of people have been staying home, but it's just been really poor conditions out there. Take a look at the LI here over by Comac Road. It didn't look like this before 7 o'clock. So as they said, Mike Woods and Audrey Puente, this is moving in now. This is the LA westbound by Comac Road in Suffolk County there, and you can see we have a stalled truck there on the side there. But road conditions aren't good in Suffolk County. Nassau County, that's a different story. That's the LI by exit 36. You can see nice blacktop there both directions. Same goes with the Northern State, Southern State Parkway. So if you really need to head out. This is what the roads pretty much look like. Road conditions not that great. This is the Bronx River Parkway over by Crane that you're seeing. That's the thruway right by the sawmill, and there's plows out there doing their thing. So right now looking pretty good around there, and farther north on the Taconic by Bryan Pond Road, you can see that plows there. They've been working the Taconic there. A little hard to keep up, but they're trying to keep those roads safe while those cars are out there, and you can see there. And you know the rules. If you see them doing their thing, keep your distance like that guy is a little bit. Right now there's the LA over in Queens. Now the 5 boroughs, different story. Roads are nice and clear. Staten Island, the Bronx, that's what I'm seeing. This is over by the Grand Central Parkway. What you're seeing, this is the lens that's covered a little bit with snow there, but you could see nice and clear as far as the rails. So Metro North continues on a modified schedule. New Jersey Transit in and out of Penn Station. It's a 30-minute delay because of earlier fire department activity by one of the tunnels. PATH trains, they had a power outage over by the World Trade Center. Hoboken to World Trade Center is suspended. They did resume service. Newark to World Trade Center. You have the New Jersey Transit as well as the ferries. They're cross-honoring tickets. And then with the subways, they are starting to store some of the trains like they usually do. They stored the trains underneath underground in the express tracks. So the N trains, local service only between 59th and 36th. And then we have other issues with the Q and the B trains. Chris, let's go back to you.
All right, Inez, thank you very much. Well, speaking of some issues, New York City Public Schools are holding remote learning today, of course, because of the storm, but it has definitely come with some issues. This morning, the Department of Education announcing on social media that there are some issues with service that requires IBM authentication to log in. The city posting this update saying that IBM has added capacity and improvements are coming, they say. We're going to keep you updated with any new information we get as it comes into the newsroom. And the weather is obviously having an impact on our day, our commutes. The big question in parts of Queens and Long Island right now is how is it affecting turnout in today's special election to replace George Santos? Fox 5's Jody Goldberg joining us live from Plainview, Long Island. Jody, what are you seeing so far?
Chris, we've been waiting for this day. Santos was expelled back in December. The seat has lacked representation since then. And on the day of the special election, we have snow. Here at Bayless Elementary School, voters, poll workers rather, tell me they have had about 40 people who have come in to vote. Now, I just want to point out there have been 9 days of early voting prior where people have been able to cast their ballots. If they waited until today, they have to bear the elements, come out. They have been plowing the parking lots. They've been drying the floors to make it safe for voters who do bear those elements and come inside. The door is right over here. You could actually see a poll worker behind me trying to clean off his car, just keeping up with the snow as it falls. So when he comes out later this afternoon or this evening, the polls close at 9 o'clock, he won't have to first deal with it then. As you mentioned, we're replacing George Santos's seat, and it's a doozy of a day. The snow definitely making elements worse. Here's what voters had to say.
I like to hear that people are tenured, that they know the systems that they have to work through. I like to know that they have ideas that are new and starting to change our communities a little bit. Issues with immigration and, the wars that are happening abroad are very valuable.
Somebody who's doing the right thing, obviously, and, the reason why we have this is because, we're trying to replace somebody who clearly wasn't doing the right thing.
And now, who are people voting for? On the ballot, we have Democrat Tom Suozzi. He's a former congressman going against Republican Mazi Pilip. She's also running on the conservative line. They're on the ballots. They're looking to replace George Santos's seat. As I mentioned, it's been lacking representation since he was expelled back in December. And one thing I do want to point out, Chris, both candidates are offering free rides to the polls. If you don't feel comfortable getting behind the wheel, you can reach out to their parties to get a ride to the polls so you can cast your ballot. The polls are open until 9 o'clock tonight. Results will trickle in soon after. That's the latest here in Plainview, Long Island. Let's send it back inside to you.
That's really good to know. All right, Jody, thank you very much. Stay warm and dry. Thank you very much. Well, for the latest updates on school closings, delays, and early dismissals in our area, you can head to our website on your screen, fox5ny.com. That'll do it for us right now. Thanks for being here. We're going to be back with more updates throughout the day, and you can keep watching our extended weather coverage on our free streaming app, Fox Local, right now and throughout the day today. Just search Fox Local on your preferred streaming platform. That's all for now. Thanks for joining us. Good morning. I'm Chris Welch. Thanks for staying with us for this extended weather coverage here on Fox Local. We want to go ahead and take a live look outside. You can see it is still coming down right now. That is for sure. Audrey Puente, it's been coming down for a few hours now. I know you said we might get some sun later today. That's definitely not here yet, is it?
Definitely not, Chris. We're seeing this similar scene all across the tri-state area at this hour. That has prompted the National Weather Service to continue the winter storm warning for much of the region. The area shaded in pink here is where we do have that warning in effect, and that's exactly where we're seeing the snow coming down in earnest. Here's a look at the radar, looking pretty impressive with some of these darker shaded tones indicating a more intense snowfall rate. And some of these areas we actually call banding. This is when we see a nice thin layer or a stretch of snow that is coming down with such intensity that it appears dark here on the radar image. So let's zoom on into Long Island, where we're seeing the most intense snowfall at the moment. It has been coming down at an inch or more an hour here, so it's really piling up, especially across Suffolk County. Let's say from West Islip through Brookhaven, the Hamptons, and out towards Montauk Point, you're seeing some significant snowfall right now, and that includes areas across the Sound into the coastal sections of Connecticut too, right along I-95. It's very sloppy and dangerous. Right now is not the time to be out on the roadways. You want to to kind of stay in and allow yourself to wait it out a bit, because things are going to be coming to an end rather quickly soon. Here east of the Hudson River, we have a couple of spots still seeing some intense snowfall. However, it is starting to lighten up in many spots. And out across the areas west of the Hudson River, we're seeing marked improvement, especially across Sullivan County, now western Ulster County, even into Orange County here. We're starting to see the drier weather working in behind the system, and this will quickly race eastward as we get into the next hour or two. Same thing for you in Sussex, New Jersey here. Over towards Warren County too, we're starting to see some clearing coming in, but it's still, we have a swath of banding here going on across north central New Jersey, right around Denville, West Milford, over towards Bernardsville, and down towards Reddington. This will slowly move eastward here, so while the snow appears to be lighter for you in places like Bergen County, Union County, Hudson County, even into New York City, we do have this intense band coming in our direction, so the snow may pick up in intensity as we get into the next 30 to 60 minutes or so. The area of low pressure associated with this, though, is still off towards offshore here. You can see some of those lightning strikes here. That's indicating some very strong dynamics happening in the system. It's been very strong and been intensifying rapidly since last night, and that's why we're seeing all of the incredible weather that we have here across the Northeast. But you can see it's sort of sitting and spinning and moving quickly out to the east here. So the heaviest snowfall is now moving across Long Island, as I mentioned, over towards eastern Connecticut, and now moving into New England as well. The back edge is now working through central Pennsylvania and central New York, and that will work from west to east across the region. All right, let's take a look at some of the snowfall totals here. These amounts were recorded a little while ago, roughly between 7 and 9 a.m., so they're probably adding to these totals as I report them here. 11 inches in Port Jervis. I'm guessing you're already up to a foot already, and thankfully the snow has stopped there. Highland Mills at about 9.5 inches, Middletown at 8 inches. Central Park, the last record was taken at 7 a.m. this morning. It's been some time, so I would probably add at least another inch there. 7 inches in Sparta, Paramus, New Jersey coming in at 6 inches, Ramsey at about 5 inches, Montclair at 4. Again, still snowing in a lot of these places, so we'll probably see an additional 2 to 3 inches into many of these totals before it's all said and done here. Right now, temperatures close to the freezing mark in many spots, including White Plains, where it's still snowing here. 32 in Poughkeepsie, 33 in Sussex. Now, a lot of the snow has been melting on contact, especially here in the city, but in areas where the colder surfaces or the roads are a little bit colder, or the temperature is actually a bit colder, that's where we're seeing it pile up on some of the roadways, making it tough to get around. So it's really not a day, or at least a morning, to be driving anywhere at this hour. Wind speeds, they've been picking up here. We're between, let's say, 15 to 20 miles per hour on average, but gusts are even higher than that. And because of those winds, the visibility has been reduced to less than a mile across parts of the region. So again, driving, not a good idea this morning. Believe it or not, you actually get a chance this afternoon, because things will be coming to an end quickly, probably just after noontime, and we'll see improving conditions through the afternoon, and that's when you probably want to head out to get out and do what you need to do. Looking at coastal flood advisories, we have warnings and watches. This is because of the times of high tide, we could see some minor to moderate coastal flooding. A look at the futurecast shows, or actually this is not the futurecast, this is just a wider scope of the U.S. showing that we are really the bullseye here for any storm activity. A look at the futurecast shows that here we are at 12 o'clock. We're already seeing the edge here moving into portions of New York City. Then just 1 hour later, moving across Long Island, changing over to rainfall by that point. And look at that, we're going to see sunshine coming through the clouds by the time it sets this evening, and we'll have a much drier evening ahead of us with maybe just an isolated shower or two passing in across the region. All right, let's see how this has all been affecting the commute all over the place for those that are out on the roadways, of course. For that, we're going to head over to Inez, who has a traffic update.
Hey there, Audrey. You know, it's been a light commute, actually. Everybody looks like they stayed home, working from home if possible. No, a lot of schools were closed and canceled, so that helps things, keep the people off the road because the road conditions haven't been good, especially in New Jersey, Long Island. We've had numerous accidents reported. That's the Holland Tunnel from 1 and 9 and the Turnpike. You see a few cars out there. The road's nice and paved. Plows have been out there taking care of these roads there. This is the thruway over right by the Palisades Garden State Parkway in Rockland County. Nice little blacktop there and just not a lot of cars, which is pretty good in this kind of area. Take a look at the LIE. This is over inside the Coast in Suffolk County, and that's a different story there. Plows are out there. I see them working, but it's just sometimes it's hard to keep up. Same thing's been going on the Taconic over in Putnam County. It's just, I can't tell you enough how many accidents I've seen throughout the morning. Can't count them all. Right now, that's the Staten Island Expressway that you're seeing by Bradley Avenue. In the 5 boroughs, the roads have been taken care of, so they've done a good job with that. Secondary, tertiary roads included. Now with the rails, the PATH train's having some major issues. Hoboken to World Trade Center, they lost power, so that's suspended. PATH trains Newark to World Trade Center, Journal Square to 33rd, delays because of other issues. New Jersey Transit, a 30-minute delay. And there's that PATH train that I told you about. Now, with what they normally do with this kind of weather, Chris, is that they start storing the trains underground, which is what they're doing. So a lot of trains are switching over to local service. Right now, it's the N trains, local service between 59th and 36th Street. And there have been some other issues. All in all, subways have been running pretty good, but now you're going to stick to local service as they start storing these trains, Chris.
All right. Inez, thank you very much. We appreciate it. New York City Public Schools switched to remote learning today because of the storm, but there have already been some technical issues. School officials announcing on social media there were problems with the service that requires IBM authentication to log in. The city posting an update a short time ago saying that IBM has added capacity and they say improvements are coming. We're going to keep you updated with any new information we get as it comes into our newsroom. Meantime, the storm is also impacting communities in upstate New York. For that, we're going to go to Fox 5's Richard Giacovas. He's live in Armonk up in Westchester. Richard, how's it look where you are? Kind of like a postcard behind you right now.
Yeah, a little bit, Chris. You know, so much for the groundhogs, though. They couldn't predict that early spring correctly because we got walloped up here in northern Westchester. We're in the village of Armonk, home of Frosty the Snowman. How fitting. I will show you just how picturesque it actually is. Really, on the past 10 minutes, we've actually seen some activity on the roadways, which has not been the case for most of the morning here. Like Audrey and Inez were saying, most people staying home today, no schools open, at least in this town, and most people working from home. But if you watch the flow of traffic that comes back and forth on this main street here in this town, most people not coming out unless maybe you're going to the bagel store, the only business that's open. And that's another thing. A lot of businesses are suffering from this. We see from throughout this street because of the winter storm, people are staying closed today. A couple of business owners, maybe restaurants, trying to keep their sidewalks clean because they're going to try to open for lunch. How many people will actually come out for lunch? That's debatable. Another note up here in Westchester and throughout the Hudson Valley is paratransit and Beeline buses, which are running with system-wide delays, according to Westchester County government. So that's taking a lot of time for people if they have to commute today, and that's their only form and mode of transportation, have to get on those buses or paratransit. An awful lot of plows and salt trucks that have been taking these roadways over the past hour or so, and they're trying to keep it clear. I will say that the amount of snow and the duration of the snow has started to weaken over these last few minutes. So I think we're starting to get towards that lighter bands of snow, and then once it finally moves out, I think you'll certainly see more people drive and hit the roadways. Us driving here up to Armonk today, coming from, I know my photographer was coming from New Jersey. I was coming from southern Westchester up here. The roadways were not ideal for driving, and you really could barely see in front of you. We'll show you some video of that later on. It is not the ideal day to come out. Stay home if you can. It'll get better as the day goes on when the snow starts to go away. But for now, we'll say greetings from Armonk, since it is very picturesque here in this postcard-like way. Chris, we'll send it back to you.
Richard, thank you, and stay safe out there on the roads. We appreciate it. And for the very latest updates on school closing, delays, and early dismissals in our area, you can head to our website right there on the screen, fox5ny.com. That's going to do it for us for right now, but you can keep watching our extended weather coverage on our free streaming app, Fox Local, all throughout the day today. Just search Fox Local on your preferred streaming platform. Thanks for joining us.
Going to see
2 years in a row of that snowless, or rather least snowy season. So it's been quite the journey, I think, for New York City, and this is definitely a welcome situation, maybe alleviating some of that snow drought here. But throughout the day, it has just been busy. I'll say that. A lot of people still out walking, but actually using, instead of maybe those big old jackets, using these umbrellas, because it is that heavy, wet snow because of how warm it is here in the city. So as it's coming down, it sort of starts to soak your jacket, right? Now, the good part of it is it really is that perfect snowball consistency snow, and some people will probably get a kick out of that as they go along the day to day. But it almost at times looks and feels a lot like rain as it comes down here. And when you look at the roads, they just are that very slushy, wet layer over them, which is, of course, making it difficult for driving, right? So we know that in New York's public schools, they've gone to remote learning, which unfortunately they're reporting some issues with their system at this time. But a lot of other restrictions to take into account here as we look at the potential impacts of this snow. That is, of course, several major trucks are going to be banned off of places like I-84. So those are things to look out for throughout the day today as we continue to see the snow fall well into the afternoon, Amy. But I think overall, it's this view right here in Central Park that you just can't get enough of right now.
Yes, it is a more familiar February vibe, that is for sure. I saw the plows out. The plows only come out in New York City when there's 2 inches or more of snow to remove, and that hasn't happened in 2 full seasons. So to see the plows out and about, that's a little bit more like it for a New York City winter. We'll continue to check in with you in the Big Apple. Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez. Thanks so much. And you look at a more familiar snow scene there with Central Park in the background. We have not seen a setup like this in several years. We've had a couple of East Coast opportunities. New York has been skipped over.
It's true. And with this winter storm warning, which was issued the first time in more than 2 years, the longest streak that we've had from a warning being issued in 20 years. I mean, that's saying something. This is what I'm talking about. Will it verify? We have probably a couple of hours left of the snow, but 6 inches is what qualifies for this winter storm warning. At least that's the threshold. I know it's getting into semantics, but we're watching the back edge of this moving through North Jersey now. Here's New York City and Central Park. I mean, and judging by Nicole's shot, we've had some decent snow there, certainly probably more than we've seen all of last year and the year prior, so 2 years. But winter storm warning, I don't know. Perhaps it was more of an advisory type of snow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when all is said and done, we'll see what happens out on Long Island. That's another place that's still yet to see the snow. But for the city itself, you're right. 2.3 inches was all of last season.
Yeah.
And then this year, when you look at the amounts and you total them, we've only had 2.3. If we get 2.3 out of this storm, I'm going to say there's a conspiracy.
There is, with 2.3
That's our limit.
in a row, boy. But look, to your point, Long Island is really in the thick of it. Islip, seeing some decent snow right now, and we're really looking at where those brighter colors are showing up. On the legend, you can see that's where the heavier pockets of snow is. Over Brookhaven, we're seeing that. Through the Long Island Sound here, farther to the north into Bridgeport, New Haven, there's another decent band that has been a bit stubborn, so stubborn to where, what was it in West Hartford, where we're more than a foot of snow?
We're at 11 inches
Nearly
plus.
a foot of snow in West Hartford. I mean, that's remarkable. And it was all thanks to that band, which it is tapering off just a bit and shifting farther to the south. But this storm is on the move. We had that pivot occur, but it is not lasting long. Sometimes when you get the low to pivot, you'll have that snow set up shop for a while. But this thing's also moving fast to the east. So we're already seeing the clearing edge of this thing move into Jersey, and the lower Hudson Valley.
Yeah, that's the other part of this is if you get a quick dose of snow come through and then you've got a rapid recovery for the afternoon, a lot of people might get out and about. We don't know if all the snow is going to be removed quickly. It seems like they've got a good opportunity here, though, to use much of the afternoon daylight, remove as much snow as possible before the very cold conditions come in tonight. We'll be turning our attention likely up into the northeast to see as this wraps out. I mean, the low itself is going to deepen offshore. Rapid rapidly intensify as it pulls away. That also will create some winds and some pulling in of the very cold air behind it.
And we still have, I think, the next couple of hours to where we have, and these are the totals right now. These are out of Massachusetts. Southeastern Massachusetts probably going to see the highest totals. I think Southeastern Mass beats the Berkshires this time because of where the low's at. The Berkshires, for perspective, in western Massachusetts, and with this low hanging off the coast. And this is a zone into Rhode Island and Mass, even into the Cape, where we could see these snow rates still exceed 2 inches per hour, getting closer to that 3-inch per hour rate. That would be impressive. That's a component that we have. And then, of course, the other thing, Amy, are the winds. The winds, the biggest threat that we have for Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, and the Cape, high wind warnings, winds at about 60 miles an hour. As long as we continue to see that deepening storm, that area of low pressure, and as long as it's south, which that low is located well south, we're going to get that wind out of the north that could create a little bit of erosion on the beaches. Certainly a bit of a surge.
Yeah, so there are coastal issues for the backside of this nor'easter that you're going to want to pay attention to. A lot of interruptions already that we've been dealing with that don't necessarily have to do with the coast, but they do have to do with the weather that's creating this entire nor'easter, which are the wind and also the snow. There were a lot of cancellations with the flights. We're over 1,500 flight cancellations, about 8,000 delays for the airports. So this has stopped down some travel in a couple different ways. And of course, we've had plenty of road issues. The episode that evolved early this morning in York, Pennsylvania, where everybody got stuck out on the roads, that was a terrible situation. So delays through the day today, probably due to ripple impact or worsening road conditions, depending on what's your choice of travel.
And there was this proactive measure, too. I mean, we're looking at New York area airports, right? About 900 cancellations. That number has
a lot they started yesterday,
trended up.
Right.
A lot of them did. So perhaps those alternative plans were able to be made, but it's still frustrating. I mean, it's a Monday, and you're thinking, okay, on Tuesday, my flight's canceled, but that happening at about 6 o'clock, I think it was like 18% of the flights out of LaGuardia itself had that canceled already. So the proactive measure was good. Boston has been unique. There were some preemptive cancellations at Boston Logan. The winds have been the strongest in Boston compared to Newark, JFK, and LaGuardia. We have them at about 31 miles per hour, a recent gust, but we're still getting some flights. This number has increased today. Cancellations now up to 26% of those flights, 228. And it's now snowing in Boston. So that's good if you wanted the snow.
Yeah, finally getting some snow. Maybe not as much as we wanted, but it is snowing there now. All right, coverage continues right here on Fox Weather. Millions heading out to do their daily duties. Maybe did a quick turnaround as this quick hitting snowstorm came in. Whether you tried to get there by rail, road, or sky, you're running into some problems confronted with this major snowstorm that's coming to the northeast. Fox Weather is your Winter Storm HQ. Stick with us. We're going to guide you through the rest of this storm. Weather Command is coming right back.
From Fox 5 News, this is a weather alert.
Good morning, I'm Bianca Peters. Thanks for joining us for our extended weather coverage right here on Fox Local. Let's go ahead and take a live look outside. We're taking a look here at the Lincoln Tunnel. As we can see, not that much traffic on the roadways, but that's probably because an abundance of caution. A lot of people were being told to stay home this weekend, or today rather. But however, if you are going to be heading out the door, we're going to check in with meteorologist Audrey Puente. She's tracking the storm. She's here now with the very latest. Audrey, we see those wet roadways, slippery roadways, so obviously something to be cautious about if you're heading out the door.
Right, it's very true, Bianca, and good to see that not like many people are on the roads, which is very dangerous to be out on this morning because we've had a lot of snow coming in across the region. The Weather Service is continuing the winter storm warning for the areas shaded in pink here, but they've now discontinued it for areas of northwest New Jersey where things are starting to wind down, and that wind down will work quickly from west to east as we go through the next hour or so. We can see here on the radar that the darker shaded tones indicating the most intense snowfall is now shifting off to the east, so it's really Long Island which is seeing the worst of it right now with some of that banding happening here. You can see right over Coram heading towards Brookhaven. We're seeing some intense snowfall coming in, and it's really piling up across Suffolk County. Same thing across coastal Connecticut. I-95 Merritt Parkway, not the place to be. Out across the Hudson Valley, things are faring much better west of the Hudson River, where they've already received about a foot of snow across parts of this area of the tri-state. East of the Hudson River, things are still winding down here, so you still have snow coming down, but it will gradually come to an end. Across New Jersey, as I mentioned, we see things coming to an end across Sussex County over towards Warren County, and that's why they've dropped the winter storm warning there. We still have winter weather advisories and warnings in effect for portions of New Jersey where we're still seeing the snow coming down, so it is rough on the area roadways like the Turnpike as well as the Garden State Parkway. Still snowing here in the city. It's been light in intensity. However, there is a darker shaded tone indicating some steadier snowfall coming in from the west, so it could pick up in intensity before it winds down quickly just after lunchtime. Temperatures are still cold enough for snow across the region, close to the freezing mark in many spots, including Poughkeepsie, all the way down towards Belmar. Now, because of the winds, the visibilities have been reduced to less than a mile in many spots, so definitely do not be out of the roads if you don't have to, because it's tough driving all the way around. We're actually going to break into some sunshine by early afternoon and definitely before it sets this evening, and tonight we're in store for a much quieter weather pattern here with much drier weather working in here. It'll be dry tomorrow, but cold with a high of 35, and then we'll have another chance of snow coming in on Thursday. Let's bring in Inez Rosales now and see a check on the traffic. She'll give us a check on the traffic right now.
Audrey, you know what, as we're saying, it's good that people stayed home. A lot of accidents out there. Volume is low, but I've heard so many accidents still going on. A lot of tractor trailers that jackknife, overturns, and flipped over vehicles. This is since 4:30 this morning since we started. These red dots on the cameras, on the maps, basically telling you there's an incident reported there. If you're traveling Watchung area, Somerset, U78 there, off of 22 around there, a lot of streets, secondary, tertiary roads have been closed because of poor weather conditions there. But you can see a lot of red dots. The Parkway over by the Jersey Shore between exits 98 and 116. We've had so many accidents reported there. On Long Island, things in Nassau County look great. Nice blacktop. That's the LIE over by exit 36. But then Suffolk County, not as much there. We have more snow, more coverage there on the LIE over by Comac Road westbound. There's a little bit of a slowdown. That's because the plow trucks just went through. On the eastbound side, same situation there. The Taconic over in Putnam County by Bryan Pond Road. Also dealing with this snow there. The plows have been out there. I've seen them go up and down the roadway throughout the morning there. So it's passable. Just be careful if you really need to head out, but still go out a little bit later on those errands. Belts Parkway over by JFK, nice blacktop there in the 5 boroughs. The conditions pretty good out there. If you see the air train there going with the airport, still check ahead. There's still some flight disruptions. A lot of flights were delayed and canceled. Now with the rails, Metro North continues on a modified schedule. New Jersey Transit 30 minutes in and out of Penn Station. Earlier fire department activity. And the PATH trains have had some of their own issues. They just resumed service though. Hoboken to World Trade Center, Newark to World Trade Center, Journal Square to 33rd, still dealing with some delays. And I want to show you this, Bianca. Robert Moses sent this to us. He was out there all morning reporting on the roads, and these are the type of accidents. This is a spin out over on Route 17, right by the New York State border there that I've been hearing about all morning long. And this is pretty much why normally they say just stay home, let them clear the roads until things are safe again, Bianca.
Yeah, such great advice there, especially when you mentioned not many people out in the roadways because no one's going to work, no one's going to school either.
Well, they're working
Inez.
from home. They're going
working
to school.
from home.
Yes.
Working from home. That still counts.
Yes.
Except for us. All right, speaking about no one going to school, New York City Public Schools having some trouble with remote learning today, out of all days. Fox 5's Arthur Chian has the very latest. He joins us from the East Village. Arthur, on behalf of all the kiddos out there, I mean, could they have not just making this a snow day, a full snow day?
Well, I think some would prefer to have that snow day. It is a little bit messy out here, and perhaps appropriately, because it seems like life got a little messy for parents this morning. As you mentioned, the New York City school system experiencing some technical difficulties. They made the decision yesterday to switch to virtual learning today, and this morning a lot of parents that we talked to said their kids had problems logging on into the system, and it wasn't just the parents who were saying it. A short time after that, the Department of Education sent out first notification to parents that they understood there was a problem for kids logging on, asking them to switch over to Google Classrooms. And then a short time later, let's show you the tweet that they sent out. This was just a little while ago, acknowledging that they've been working with IBM to try to solve that problem and allow more people to log on. We've talked to several parents and teachers this morning who reported problems. Some said they're fine and that it's working well. Others who told us that it took about an hour for them to ultimately be able to log in. Now, certainly the complication for parents today is if they work, how do they go about it if their kids are not at school? Meaning, do they stay home? Does one of the parents stay home? In this day and age, many households are dual income households where both parents work, so somebody had to stay home. A parent that we talked to, who we're going to show you later on in our newscast today, she brought both kids. She has two children and brought both kids to work today, but obviously it has to be a workplace that accommodates that. And her kids are logged in at school right now. So parents we talked to, they're making the best of what they can do in this situation. We've also talked to some parents here in the East Village who had their kids out and said it doesn't work for my kids, so I'm just giving them a snow day myself, making that executive decision. But that's basically what we're here from parents and teachers today, that there have been hiccups, that it has been as messy in the virtual process as it is out on the streets right now. But in the end, one parent eloquently put it this way. She said, if it made people safer, including the bus drivers and the teachers and the students, to not be on the roads today, then, you know, they support that decision. We're going to have much more coverage on this as the day goes along, and obviously we're going to watch those tech issues and make sure they stay resolved. But that's the latest from here in the East Village, where we are live. Arthur Chan, Fox 5 News. Back to you, Bianca.
All right, Arthur, thanks so much for the update. And for the very latest updates on school closings, the delays, the early dismissals in our area, you can head over to our website on your screen, fox5ny.com. Well, that does it for us for now, but you can keep watching our extended weather coverage on our free streaming app, Fox Local, throughout the day. Today, just search Fox Local on your preferred streaming platform. You can download it for free now. Thanks for joining us.
This is a weather alert.
Good morning, I'm Bianca Peters. Thanks so much for joining us for our extended weather coverage right here on Fox Local. Let's go ahead and take a live look outside this morning. As we can see, the Lincoln Tunnel, not too many people out there on the roadways. I can spy 1 or 2 or 3 cars, but meteorologist Audrey Puente is tracking this storm. She's here now with the very latest on this. Audrey, a lot of people staying home, no one going to school, so we can expect those roadways to be a bit clear.
Well, that's good, and because it is quite slick and dangerous out on the roads. It's been that way for the last several hours all morning long. It was rough timing here for the morning commute, but the evening commute should fare much better across the region here if you happen to actually be out on the roads. Let's take a look at the radar. We can see we still have snow falling across most of the region here, but it has now come to an end in areas across the Hudson Valley as well as over towards northern New Jersey, but not the case across Long Island. You're seeing steady snowfall here from West Islip through the Hamptons and out towards Montauk Point, so it's coming down at a pretty good clip here. We can see the darker shaded tones indicating some of that banding that's happening. When we talk about snow bands, that's when it's coming down at a really intense rate and begins to pile up significantly. That's been the case across portions of Fairfield County into Connecticut, too, but it is moving eastward. We still have some snow falling across areas east of the Hudson River, but it is tapering off in areas west of the Hudson River. Same thing across New Jersey here. Still snowing in places like the Turnpike as well as the Garden State Parkway, but that's all moving eastward here. We had light snow here in the city, but now it's starting to pick up in intensity with this last band that's coming through. Everything will be winding down shortly from west to east, and we are in store for a rather dry afternoon across the region, but totals were pretty significant across the area, up to about a foot in Port Jervis, or probably at a foot because this was recorded earlier. 1.2 in Central Park. That was at about 7 a.m. We're probably going to get up to about 3 inches before it's all said and done at least. Sparta coming in at 7 inches, Paramus at 6. Again, these totals were recorded earlier. I'm sure they'll be much higher when we get all the totals in by the end of the day today. Right now, temperatures are still near the freezing mark. It's windy outside. Wind gusts are about 30 miles per hour, at least close to it. That is reducing visibilities across the region and also providing wind chills in the 20s. So don't really go out on the roadways if you don't need to. It's rough driving, not just because of the slick roadways, but because of the reduced visibility. Good news is everything will be winding down. Here we are about 1 o'clock with the moisture moving out towards the east, everything drying out from the city on westward, and then we'll see the sun breaking through the clouds before the day's end. Let's get into Inez Rosales right now and get an update on the road conditions.
Hey there, Audrey. Well, the road conditions pretty much vary throughout the area. Definitely a lot of accidents reported. We've had so many overturns, spin-outs, things like that. This is Suffolk County, the LA westbound over by the Saginaw Coast. You can see some of the roadways, some of the road there. Plows have been out there taking care of things. But as you make your way to Nassau County, you're heading in that direction. And Queens, a lot better. That's Queens. That's the LA right by the Van Wyck Grand Central Parkway there. Both directions. You could see nice little blacktop. You see 3 lanes. The other camera, you only saw about 1 or 2 lanes there. So it's been tough getting around depending where you are. That's the Staten Island Expressway that you're seeing by Bradley Avenue, also nice and clear both ways. The 5 boroughs, I can tell you the roads look really good. It's New Jersey, Long Island, Suffolk County that I'm hearing conditions not so good. And north of the city, for example, there's a Taconic by Bryan Pond Road. You can see a little bit of blacktop there. Trying to keep up with it's been tough, but I'm also noticing the snow is actually lightening up just a little bit throughout the morning. It's been a bit tough getting around that. Then with the trains, rails, we've had some problems. Metro North is on a modified schedule. They haven't changed anything with that. New Jersey Transit still delays in and out of Penn Station, as well as the PATH trains. They've had some issues, so some delays with that, and the airports still a lot of flight disruption. So if you're still planning to fly out, make sure you keep checking on that flight of yours, Bianca.
That's right. Keep an eye on that. A lot of delays out there, Inez. Thanks so much. Meanwhile, New Jersey actually getting hit pretty hard. Our crews have been out on the roads all morning checking out how things look. Fox 5's Michelle Ross joins us live from Montville in Morris County, New Jersey. Michelle, how are things out there?
Well, Bianca, the snow has been falling down steadily for the last couple of hours, but let's give you a live look because we're now seeing a bit of a difference now. So before the snowflakes were coming down very thick, now it's starting to light up. It's getting to be very thin now. Also, very picturesque scene here. We are in Montville, and I actually had to look up what street we're on my phone. We're on Windsor Drive. I had to look this up on maps because the snow had been coming down so thick that it covered all the street signs. So again, very picturesque scene here. Snow is blanketed this area on the trees, also on the streets. You can see that the only time that we can see the blacktop is from the tire marks here. Also, with that being said, it could be a little difficult to navigate on the residential areas if you don't have good traction on your tires. Let's also give you a look at the highways. We have some video of that from earlier. We took this about 45 minutes ago. We were on Route 3 and Route 46, which were clear of snow, but it is wet. So still advised to reduce your speed. We also saw the speed limit on some highways was dropped to 35 miles per hour. We also saw snowplows and salt spreaders. So they have been out on the streets, on the highways, doing a great job keeping that clear. Drivers are also on the roads, but not nearly as many as would be on a typical Tuesday like you would expect. Now, Governor Murphy has also said this morning that there were 250 car accidents that took place throughout the state. So he advises if you do not have to travel anywhere today to stay home and stay safe. Back to you, Bianca.
Yeah, some good advice there, Michelle. Thanks so much. We'll check in with you later. Well, that does it for us for now. You can also keep watching our extended weather coverage on our free streaming app, Fox Local, throughout the day. You can especially do that today. Just search your Fox Local on your preferred streaming platform. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll catch up with you soon.
Portions of the snow ban, taking it slow, taking it careful, and obviously helping whoever we can along the way.
Well done. Thanks for the extra service there on your route. Stay safe during this storm. We'll look forward to your pictures as you share them with us. Exclusive Fox Weather Storm Tracker Brandon Kopic. Thank you so much. Well, it really is surprising to see so many people getting out and about on those Connecticut roads, but not surprising to see them getting stuck or turn around.
No, with the snow, I mean, it's been these isolated bands. I think that's the name of the game here. When we look in Brooklyn, we saw about 6 inches, Coney Island, right? We look in Manhattan, we saw half that. 3 inches or so. I mean, up in Parkchester, 3.4 inches. You go to Jersey, and we're talking about a foot. And there is some elevation there that we play with, but also given how this storm evolved, strengthened, we saw that change over from the rain to snow. That was an important thing. But this storm report that we're getting out of Coney Island, I mean, that would verify, right, this winter storm warning that we had in effect. We have in Orange 5.6 inches and Bellarose 2.8 inches. So these storm reports coming in and a general 1 to 3 inch perhaps for New York, but we had isolated areas pick up that 6, maybe it's still going to fall to 7, 8 inches. We haven't seen the back edge yet. I mean, it is approaching, and as that quickly moves toward New York City, we're going to see a sudden end to this, and we still have plenty of hours left of daylight. And I think that we'll have clearing on the backside. We get some sun today. Mark my words.
Yeah, looking at the numbers, that Orange, New Jersey, 5.6, that's impressive. That's just over the Hudson there. Hop, skip, and a jump. The other things that I saw were impressive. The Hoboken number, 3.7, that was an impressive number. That, again, is right on the other side of the Hudson River, so across from New York City into New Jersey. And then out on Long Island, you've got Glen Clove right now at 8.1 inches. So that's at least one Long Island reading. So we'll continue to watch and see what else happens out there on Long Island. They still have some snow to go.
Yeah,
the wrap could happen for the city and the boroughs pretty rapidly, but then you have the Long Island sticking out, waiting for the snow and stuff to finish up there. So we'll have at least a little more time for that. This camera right here is looking at Hendrickson. It looks like there's just rain falling, maybe snow falling and melting on impact here.
The temperatures are warm at the surface and road temperatures too. This is when the salt and the brine are most effective. We have temperatures that are in the low 30s, upper 20s. That's really helpful with the roads. And you've got a couple of trucks there that have the plows on front of them or in the front, and that also does a number. This storm for Long Island, we're going to see the biggest totals in Long Island, and perhaps that's how this system has evolved in that more now-casting scenario. We have from Brookhaven to Southampton. That's where we're going to see for the rest of the afternoon, well, at least for the next 2 hours, the 1 to 3 inch snow rates. So that's per hour. The back edge of it already getting close to Trenton. It has essentially stopped in Philadelphia. On the southern edge of this, as that area of low pressure is well off to the east now, it's easier to have that drier air wrap back around. So you see a quicker end here, and it's less to do with what that low is doing as we're seeing the moisture pivot. But I will say in Hartford, Connecticut, we got in on a narrow band that really caused this storm to overachieve, as Tom mentioned, to outperform. Hartford getting that winter weather advisory instead of the winter storm warning. And it's a narrow band that could really lead to one of those systems where we just get a 12 inch. You can see it right here. This was earlier this morning, and it did not budge. That's what led to the big totals in Hartford.
That's how they ended up, with 11 inches, possibly 12 by the time we get done with all of that. The other interesting thing there is along 95, while we can see the back edge of the system, there are still some bursts of snow and heavy bands that could come over portions of 95. So you don't want to let your guard down completely because there are still some areas here that could get some snow. When you look at the live radar, it's closing in that back edge, but there could be a little burst right before the ending. So be aware of that. Also, what comes in for the afternoon is an opportunity to remove some of this heavy snow. You'll have a break through the late afternoon for the New York City area, the tri-state parts of South Jersey. Get that snow out of there because it's going to turn frozen overnight. It's going to be very, very cold. The northwest winds come in. They dominate. We go well below the freezing point. In fact, taking the temperatures in the 20s means that everything that's wet will freeze.
Yeah, that'll be for Wednesday night. I mean, later tonight, we'll be getting to about 30 degrees, so marginally cold. I mean, hopefully there will be slick spots tomorrow morning, and then we see that chill Wednesday night, and then a return to temperatures above freezing. I don't know how long this snow is going to last. Not very long, but Boston is now getting some snow. We've got some snow, and as this low moves through the Cape, southeastern Massachusetts, into Boston, we're going to continue with this snow. There's still a long time to go before this thing exits.
We will be watching. 40 million people under winter weather alerts from Maryland to Massachusetts as this powerful storm makes its way up the East Coast. The storm expected to be short-lived but intense. New York City in store for perhaps the biggest snowfall in 2 years. I don't know if it's brag-worthy, but we are bragging about it. I mean, if we get more than 2 inches, it's more than we've seen in a bit. So you take what you can. Team coverage with our meteorologists, reporters, and storm trackers continue. We are basically fanned out across the Northeast, keeping you ahead of the storm. Thanks for being part of what we do here, weathering it together. Stay with us at Fox Weather as we continue coverage of this February nor'easter. Weather Command is coming right back.
I'm Britta Merwin, and today we're talking nor'easters. Every year, the East Coast is plagued by these storms, but really, what are they? Now, these aren't your run-of-the-mill winter storms. A nor'easter is a strong area of low pressure that moves up the East Coast, marked by its winds that move in from the northeast. Now, these storms can bring heavy rain and snow for miles. While you can technically get a nor'easter any time of year, they are most likely to occur between September and April, when the jet stream is stronger and more active. Now, there's two types of nor'easters, a Miller Type A and a Miller Type B. A Miller Type A is a typical nor'easter. It develops along the Gulf Coast, but then races up the East Coast, tracking towards the northeast. Miller Type Bs, they're a little different. They originate in the Midwest and then move east towards the Appalachians. However, once the storm reaches the mountains, it loses its organization. It will transfer its energy to a new area of low pressure that redevelops along the East Coast and tracks up to the northeast, just like a Miller Type A storm. Fox Weather is your winter storm HQ. Make sure you download the Fox Weather app today.
Yana Lewis, and today we're talking about the pioneers of meteorology. When you hear the pioneers of meteorology, dozens of names likely pop into your head. Today we're highlighting the Black meteorologists who paved the way for modern-day forecasters. William Hallett Green. Making history as the first Black graduate of City College of New York in 1884, Green knew he wanted to be the first Black meteorologist. However, he would soon find hardship, as the only way at the time to become a meteorologist was to join the United States Army Signal Corps. Unfortunately, Green was not admitted into the Corps, as African Americans were not permitted to join. It would eventually take a letter from the Secretary of War, Robert Todd Lincoln, in order for Green to be enlisted. After training, Green would be transferred to Pensacola, Florida, where he served as the chief of the weather station in 1885. His first monthly report was in July of 1885, and he remained chief through late 1885. And through it all, William Hallett Green was the first Black observer, Black forecaster, and Black meteorologist, and paved the way for several others to follow in his footsteps. Know your Fox Weather.
888-0027.
Fox Weather is your winter storm HQ, and welcome inside your weather station here. So let's talk about our February nor'easter here. So for those of you that are going to be traveling in around the United States, it's going to be mainly the northeast that is going to be impacted by what we are about to see here in the northeast. And for those of you that are going to be traveling here, a nor'easter going to be dumping some snow on the ground for millions of you in the northeast. The hardest hit areas are going to be out in Pennsylvania, where they